My name is Rodrigo Velarde. I am the head personal trainer here at Michigan Shores Club. I'm also the fitness experience organizer, which means I put some of the events and workshops together that some of you attend. And I'm also a licensed massage therapist. I've been a trainer for more than 17 years. I've been a licensed massage therapist for 3 years. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of the wisdom I've learned through other coaches that I've learned from, but also from personal experience. Today's topic, why people don't achieve their fitness goals and how you can achieve yours. So it's a new year. A lot of people said New Year's resolutions, right? So what are some of these resolution statistics? All right, 23% of people quit by the first week, 43% quit by the end of January, but 9% achieve their goal. So what we're going to be talking about today is how can we get you to be part of that 9%. All right, but what about 25? Well, hopefully you don't want to be there. Now, do any of you have, you don't have to say them out loud, do any of you have set New Year's resolutions? That's fine. Yeah, a lot of people don't even set them anymore. But what about any, maybe it was not for this year, but any goals that you set for fitness and health? All right, I have goals. And I'll tell you some of my personal stuff. For this year specifically, last year, February, so it's almost been a year, I had a toe surgery because I couldn't move it anymore. It was painful from an accident I had when I was like 20-something. And the range of motion hasn't come back fully, right? So my goal is to bring that back, and I have been able to find some different therapy styles that help bring that back. And I'll come back to that because there's always an answer for a lot of things, right? And another thing for me personally is I did start writing a book, a training book last year. And one of my goals is to hopefully finish that this year. If we get there, we'll see. There's going to be a handful, right? So I want you to take a moment to think about your goals right now, whether they have been New Year's resolutions or just in general that you set before any fitness and health goals, right? What is it you want to achieve? Because there's something brought you here today. So how come people don't achieve their goals? Well, it could be a few things. It could be lack of knowledge, or maybe there's a lot of information out there and we don't know what is actually the good stuff, right? What should I be doing for my goals? It could be lack of a plan. A lot of people don't plan or don't have a good plan to follow. It could be lack of resources, time, money, etc. It could be lack of motivation, all right? Like you get fired up at first, but then it dies out. And unmanageable reasons. So maybe you fall terribly ill, you have a very crazy accident, and it holds you back from doing a lot of things. So we're going to cover all of those except for the last one, all right? Now, the first thing here is the knowledge. Okay, I'm going to keep this as simple as possible because I don't know if you guys have ever gone to an escape room. Have any of you done escape room before? Yeah? Were you any good at it? No? Man, I tried it once. I was horrible. My fiance and I went, and I think of myself as a pretty smart person. I catch on things pretty quickly. We were like, where do we get started? Like, what are we doing? And the attendant had to give us a hint, like, you gotta look at that picture. And like, we still struggle so much, and just my brain isn't wired for that kind of stuff, like looking at like completely random things. I look at patterns, I look at statistics very well, I can develop systems really well, but my brain doesn't work for that kind of stuff. So as we go through these slides of knowledge, I'm gonna understand if your brain also doesn't work in this, because this is some stuff that I've learned for a while now, that I've been practicing for a while. So if you have questions at any point, feel free to ask them. And like I said, take pictures of the slides as needed. So the first one is one of the biggest goals people have, fat loss. Now, when we talk about fat loss, there's really one key thing that guides it. And that is to truthfully record what you ingest. All right. So you got to find and you can find these calculators anywhere online on the internet, what your base caloric needs are. All right. You put in your weight, you put in your age, your height, that kind of stuff, your activity levels. Like, all right, here's the estimated amount of calories you should be ingesting. That means eating and drinking. All right, because juices and alcohol also count for calories. A lot of people, when they guess, and it has been shown in a lot of research, a lot of studies, they estimate very under what they're actually ingesting. So it's really important, if you want to take fat loss seriously, is either use an app or write it down, whatever works best for you, but record what you actually ingest. You want to treat your meal prepping as a workout. So most people think, oh, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing my steps, I'm going to do my workouts, I'm going to get my cardio, and I'm going to lose body fat, right? And then, okay, I'm going to just eat some salads and get some protein, whatever it may be. But the main thing is getting that caloric intake below your maintenance. So you really want to treat, okay, when am I doing my grocery shopping? When am I going to do my cooking? What am I going to cook? How am I going to pack it? When am I going to eat it? Things like that, right? So we want to really, really focus in and know exactly and how we're going to do things in order to get that caloric intake where it's supposed to be for fat loss. Something that really helps, though, is eating into your 80% full. Like a lot of people, they eat, nice, I feel full, I'm done, right? So if you really want to get into some fat loss, you're gonna feel like, oh man, I think I could get like 3, 4 more bites. I should probably stop there, right? Like 80% full. You're gonna finish eating a little bit hungry. And then move more. If you're getting 10,000 plus steps a day, even better. There's this fat loss myth. If you look at cardio machines, they'll say, I don't know if they do that anymore actually, but they used to have this heart rate range, and they would say, this is your VO2, blah, 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 and fat loss, all right? We do burn the most energy as fat when we are at rest. The closer we are at rest, the more just aerobic movement we do, we are using body fat as fuel. So if I'm walking, it's not really hard. That means my body's going to use stored body fat as fuel. If I'm training hard, I'm doing some weights, I'm doing some jumps, I'm doing some sprints, I'm doing some interval training, we're going to use mostly glycogen, stored glycogen, so stored sugar. Now that doesn't mean you're not going to burn body fat, because when your body adapts and has to recover from that exercise, then it's going to use that body fat while it's recovering. So at the end of the day, the laws of thermodynamics always apply. Are you eating less, and are you doing more?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I had read something about, and you talked about timing, that there's a thought that if you eat and then you immediately do some movement, right? Take a walk, even if it's just a 15-minute walk, that there's some benefit to that. So the timing between eating and when you might do some walking or exercise.
Okay. Yeah. So the timing between, the question is, was the correlation between timing and exercise, or any type of exercise, right? So if you exercise hard and then eat, when you exercise hard, you deplete that glycogen from the muscles and the liver and whatever's in the blood. So that means you get a little bit depleted. You're probably not going to deplete everything. But that means when you eat, if you're eating some carbohydrates, then that carbohydrate you eat is going to go to replenish the stored glycogen that you just used up. So yes, if you are going to, if you know, like, okay, it's my birthday, I'm going to go eat cake. I'm going to get a hard workout first, and then I'm going to eat some cake, and then I kind of like level out what it will do to my blood sugar and also where that sugar will go to. And that's because if you're already topped off on stored glycogen, your body's just going to take those calories. Oh, it's extra, we don't need it. Let's put it as body fat instead for later use.
Rodrigo, I was talking with a client, I had dinner with a client, and the client was explaining to me that he can have the dessert, but it depends on the timing. So if you eat it nobody says it at the beginning, right? But depending on when you eat it, the impact on your gut
and the meal.
So he basically says, I'm going to eat this one in that order. I don't know how.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let me finish the second part of this, and I'll get back to that. But if you walk after eating, it does help a little bit of digestion and regulating your sugar response, your insulin response, your blood sugar response to eating. So it does help. So the other question was, timing-wise of a dessert in your whole meal, how does that affect, right? In the grand scheme of calories of fat loss, it wouldn't, right? Because you're still ingesting extra calories.
No,
yeah.
Is not that.
Yeah, but for the gut.
About the absorption, so you have to basically zoom into the guts for it to just...
Right.
But this is what the guy was explaining.
Yeah. So the only thing that would go with that would be if you eat something that's more rich in fiber first, that would be a little better with the digestion process than eating something that's very high in simple sugars. So that'll be the only thing, really. Yeah. What's that? Eat dessert only. As long if we look at this, there's people that have done like N=1 experiments of, all right, I'm only going to eat at McDonald's. But because they know exactly the calories of each meal and they stay under their caloric energy output, then they actually lose body fat and weight. Same thing, there's someone did a Twinkie diet, right? Only thing he ate was Twinkies, but he kept his calories low and he lost weight, lost body fat, and his blood markers actually did go down because he got to a healthier level. I wouldn't recommend that. You need some nutrients. Any more questions about this one? All right, so we want to keep it simple. I know it usually sounds hard, but the main thing is what your calorie intake is, and being real truthful about that. Cardiovascular health, cardio. What is good for our heart? Now, if you're looking for more of that, okay, longevity, I want to be healthy, I want to make sure I keep my heart as healthy as possible. 3 to 5 days per week, a total of 150 minutes of brisk activity. So getting a little sweating on, breathing, heart rate goes up a little bit. So you got to do it pretty often, right? Now, if you're going for purely aerobic exercise, because this will have different effects whether you're doing aerobic or anaerobic. Aerobic will be a lot more beneficial for your body, for your heart, for your health. You could use a heart rate monitor and know what your maximum heart rate is. And like, all right, I got to stay between these two ranges. Or the simplest thing is nasal breathing only. All right, so if I go for a jog, can I keep breathing through my nose the whole time? If you can do that, even if it's like hard breathing through your nose, you're still going to be in aerobic zone. The moment you start like doing that, then you're getting into the threshold of anaerobic. Now, anaerobic, and I'll get into a little bit in the next bullet point, but anaerobic is a little bit more stressful in the body, which means you need to recover from that. Aerobic, you don't really need to recover much, all right? Unless your muscles and joints aren't really used to that stimulus, then maybe they have to recover a little bit, but anaerobic work is going to be more taxing on the body. So for aerobic activity, it's even better if you enjoy it, right? If you like dancing, I like salsa dancing, so when I go dancing, that's one of my cardio activities. That way you can enjoy it and do it for a long time, right? So it doesn't have to be running and swimming. It can be hiking, it can be walking out in the park, things like that. So the more you enjoy it, the better. So we do need some of that heart stimulus because that's what keeps our bodies adapting to something challenging, and our bodies need something challenging. And that's why you hear a lot of people saying, oh man, like I started doing sauna, I'm feeling so much better. I started doing the cold plunge. I started feeling so much better. Just because maybe their bodies weren't getting enough stimulus to be challenged. Because we're not made out of sugar, right? We're not soft little puppies. We're human beings that are made to resist tough times. And we need those tough times in our body to tell the cells, hey, you need to be ready for some tough times. All right, so once a day.
Sauna or steam challenge, is that?
Yeah, because the sauna and steam are challenging to your body because it's really hot. You're like, oh man, unless you can stay there the whole day and you have different systems going into your body, maybe it's not so challenging. But yeah, it's a very high stress stimulus. Yeah, so this is, when you think of high intensity interval, your heart rate should be getting really high, like 80 to 90% of your maximum heart rate. You should be breathing hard. This is where your heart rate is really going up. You're panting, all that kind of stuff that people love. Any questions for this? For the high intensity interval stuff, it depends. There's so many interval styles. You could go with like a Tabata type style, so 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 4 rounds. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, and that can be plenty. You could do something a little bit more humane and go 10 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest, and then do like 8 rounds or 10 rounds. So it depends. But I wouldn't keep it any longer than 10 to 15 minutes for sure. Because otherwise, maybe that means you're not trying it hard enough. Any other questions? All right, strength training. Now this one is going to be a little bit more complex depending on what your goals of strength training are, because they can be more maximum strength focused, they can be hypertrophy focused, they can be strength endurance focused, so the repetitions and the sets that you do will depend on what your specific focus on that is. But generally, 2 to 6 days per week, depending how you're breaking it down. So if you're doing full body workouts every time you strength train, twice a week is plenty, 3 times is really nice. Any more than that, you probably want to start splitting into body parts. So upper body one day, lower body one day, front, back, whatever it may be. How many sets? 3 to 5 sets per muscle group, each workout. All right. So you want to make sure you get enough volume in to keep the stimulus going. 5 to 15 repetitions per set. So if you're looking more at maximum strength, you're going to be in the lower end, maybe even 3 reps or 5 reps of maximum strength. I personally have been trying to really focus on my maximum strength lately, and my workouts for that have been no more than 5 reps for months now. So it depends. And now if I want to get my push-ups higher, I'm going to go 15 plus repetitions at a time. And one of the key things here, doesn't matter which one you go with, is leave 2 repetitions in the gas tank. What does that mean? Let's say I'm doing push-ups, right? I'm banging them out like this at this pace, and I just stop. It probably doesn't look like I tried much, right? I didn't try very hard. So that would mean I should keep going until I really struggle and have like 2 reps left in the gas tank. But also, you don't want to just go all out every set. You don't want to be like, yeah, and you're failing every time, okay? Why? Because, all right, let's go to the first side. If you're not getting into that close to failure, you're not giving the body enough stimulus to change. Your body's like, we got this, we don't need to change, we're good. This is piece of cake. All right, so nothing happens. Now, if you strain every time, your tendons and your nervous system get a lot of stress. All right, so now the risk versus reward of pushing yourself isn't going to be that great, right? Because you're going to get close to the same results with leaving 2 reps in the gas tank than going all out. But you want to make sure you're pushing yourself. So a lot of people will either not get enough or will train too hard. And I myself used to get a little too hard when I was younger. I would max out my body, and I started having hormonal issues because of that. All right, so it's not a fun thing to do. Yes?
Is there a time you should push?
Where you should push. Well, yeah, if you're leaving 2 reps in the gas tank, that is pushing. Like, you should be like, oof, you're straining. All right, I'm good. I have 1, maybe 2 reps left. To max, to failure, ready to fall. If you're competing in something, yeah. But if you're a regular human being, probably not, right? Like it's just not there. Maybe when you do the high intensity interval stuff for cardio, you can push really hard on that stuff, like really get your heart rate up. But for strength stuff, it's just like the tension that keeps building up, especially in your joints, is really not. I personally don't think it's worth it. So yeah. Any other questions for that? Flexibility training. So how can we increase our range of motion? Self-myofascial release to dissipation is one of my favorite techniques to use. So like foam rolling or using a ball to release extra tension in the muscles and the fascia. The way this works is like massaging, not as specific, but it can have some really good impact. So there are 2 things that can happen with self-myofascial release. One, it can release the muscle tension. So if I find something, let's say on my tricep, and I rest it on something hard, and I feel like, ooh, that's a tender spot, there's a knot there, I wait, and then the pain dissipates. And that can be because the muscle has little Golgi organ tendons, they're called at the ends. And when they get overloaded because of the pressure, like, man, there's a lot, they start relaxing the muscle. Another reason they can help is by rehydrating the fascia and the muscles. So when you think of like a sponge that you use to clean your dishes, right? If you leave it out, it gets a little crinkly, and when you try to get it soft again, it takes a little while for the water to reabsorb, right? So when fascia and muscles and soft tissue become dehydrated like that, it takes a while for them to get rehydrated. So the pressure, the overpressure of digging in and then releasing helps blood and liquids, water, to flow back in a little bit easier. So self-myofascial release helps with the rehydration of muscles and fascia. Now with stretching in particular, there was pretty much a meeting of the minds of the top researchers in flexibility research. And they got together and they defined everything that had to do with stretching and like the baseline protocols to follow. And one of the things they came up with an agreement that they all had to agree with, 80% of them at least had to agree with everything that they wrote down, was for passive stretching, stretch 4 minutes per day, 5 days per week, at least 8 weeks, but you can keep going until you're satisfied with your range of motion that you get. All right, so I used to tell people 10 minutes total a week based on other research, but hey, if these guys got together, guys and gals, I don't know who they were, they got together and they all agree because they've been reading a lot of the research and doing a lot of the research. If that's what they agreed on, then that's what I'm gonna recommend, right? So it seems like a lot, but you know, I get this down real quick. I like sit on the floor, straddle position. I get my phone out. Oh, that's not, okay. Right, so a lot of us usually use our phones for social media, whatever, spend some time. It's really easy to accumulate those 4 minutes while you're looking at Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. All right, so that's per stretch. So if I'm doing a quad stretch of sorts, it's gonna be 4 minutes one leg, and then 4 minutes the other leg.
Oh, wow, that's when you said 4 minutes a day, I'm thinking, oh, that's not very much time.
Yeah. Of course, of course. Yes, that would be a good idea. So the question, yes, that is exactly. So the question is, all right, so if I have many body parts that I need to stretch, you know, I'm not going to spend an hour stretching every day, right? So yeah, I would recommend picking the one that's the most troublesome, right? So let's say I can't touch my toes, like, oh, having hip mobility to touch your toes is huge for just getting around and being able to move healthy and without compensations. So I would focus on something like that. Or if that's good, you can touch your toes, your shoulders are like, oh, I can't get my hand up here. The next one will be the shoulders. So hips and shoulders, how can I stretch them? How can I increase the range of motion? So I would focus on 1, maybe 2 stretches at a time. That way you're only spending at least 4 minutes up to 24 minutes a day. 16, up to 16 a day. And then like once you have the range of motion you want in something, it's a lot easier to keep it than that, right? So you just have to revisit it a little bit each day and you'll keep it. So it doesn't take that much to hold on to it, and then you can move on to your next one. Yes. Any other questions on that? All right, we're doing good. All right, power. Power is my favorite subject to talk about and train people at, because power is the #1 attribute we lose as we age. Especially, it has been shown to correlate with independent living, especially these muscles here, the lower leg muscles. Power, if you want to train power, be explosive as possible, you want to have at least 90% of intention to move explosively. So if my maximum effort was sprinting, trying to get away from a cheetah, I want to go at least 90% of that, right? So I do a lot of slams and throws of medicine balls with my clients. I want them to be like full out. They're trying to break the ball. Everything's as hard as possible when we do power, but it doesn't last very long. It is not your high intensity interval training, because when you do those, you get tired, your power decreases. You want to stay fresh and explosive. You don't want to tire out those muscles. So each set is going to be like really 5 to 15 seconds. And when I do it myself, like when I get on the Airdyne and get as hard as I can, get the watts, get the power as high as possible, I stop at around 7 or 8 seconds. All right, because after that, I can't go any higher with my power output. And same thing, and that's why I like the bike a lot for that kind of stuff, because most people, I think one client in all these years of training was the only one that couldn't use the bike. All right, so using the bike is really good for leg power. Now, you still want to get some calves into that, because that's one of the more important muscles for independent living. So adding some calf raises to that, you can definitely do. But eventually, maybe getting into some uphill walking, running to develop that, and eventually mimicking some like almost jumping type of movements would be great. You want to do this pretty often, 3 to 5 days per week, because this is just really fast. You can do a little bit of it every time. If you only get twice a week, I mean, that should be enough to like get some good stimulus. But if you want to really improve this, the more often the better. And you want to rest a while. Like, you don't want to do this quick. You want to do this a little bit, go do something else, come back to it. You can do it again. So this is really good to do throughout the day as well. You can do some 5 jumps, rest, go do some work, 5 jumps. If you can jump in your office, even great, as long as they don't think you're crazy. Any questions about power? Yeah.
So if you're struggling with difficult needs,
With what? I'm sorry?
difficult needs,
Knees. Okay. Yeah.
what do you do with power besides just functioning bouncing balls?
Yeah. So for lower body power, you mean? Yeah. Okay. So the question is difficult knees, and that's why my client couldn't do the bike. So he had bad knees. So what would you do for lower body power? So almost jumps are great because we're not going to bend the knees, and there's no impact. So I like doing stuff like that. If you can learn safely how to do a kettlebell swing, that would be really well too. Also very hip dominant. What else for lower body? I mean, if you can take impact without bending the knees so much, this is something I have a lot of my clients do, is hopping. So now that is very specific to the lower body. You can do regular hopping, kind of like you're jumping a rope. So it's a lot of the ankles doing instead of the knees like this. So you can do that. You can do single leg hopping. Those would be the things that come to mind right now. But things where it's more hip dominant than knee dominant. So more of that hamstring butt working instead of the quads. Yeah. No more questions? All right. So that was the knowledge section. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story about my family. Those are my two little nephews and my little niece, and they're from my brother's side. And these pictures are when I went to visit them in Arizona early last year, right? So it was their birthday, they're eating cake, we played around a lot. My brother made brisket for us, it was delicious. And these kids ate it up, it was awesome. And they're really fun to throw around and play with. Now this Thanksgiving, they came over and visited us. And now the little one's walking around now, and she's super cute. And I was throwing the other two around still. And they were coming, and I thought, I want to do something. There's Thanksgiving. I want to do something special for my family. I was thinking, all right, what can I do? Well, I saw them. They love the brisket my brother made for us. I'm gonna get them some meat. I think I'm gonna get some. What I really loved, I ate once, was A5 Wagyu ribeye. All right, so I'm gonna get some of that. I'm gonna make them that for Thanksgiving. And I cooked it there after the Thanksgiving meal, and it came out delicious. But these boys, they're 3 and 5. All right, so so I'm expecting they're gonna like it because I saw them eating the brisket, and they just look at it, like, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And they did that with some of the other dishes that we had. They didn't even tasted it. Like, no, I don't like that. But this is because they're in that age of trying to be a little pushing around and being very picky about what they eat. And the other one, this one, she was walking around. I gave her a little piece. She barely has teeth. She ate it. More. She was like, yeah, give me some more. She freaking loved it. All right, this is the best. And why am I telling you this? Because once you see what you need to do, what do most adults say? No, I don't like that. No, isn't 2 sets enough? I gotta do 3, 5 sets. What? Can I just stretch for 1 minute? No, I don't like doing that. Right? So we want to take into consideration, start thinking about those goals that I asked you to think about. What is it that we really want? All right, and are we willing to put those personal opinions and thoughts aside? All right, the planning. Let's talk about the planning if this comes out. All right. Main plan is keep the goal the goal. What is the most important thing to you? Now, a lot of people think, all right, I want to get 6-pack abs. I want to be able to do pull-ups. I want to be able to, all these things, run a 5-minute mile, and I want it all in 3 months. All right, but we want to make sure we really dial into that one thing that's going to make the biggest change for us. All right. And it takes some thinking about, because a lot of us don't go into depth about what we really want. It's just general idea. So the more specific we get with our goal, the better the plan that we come up with will be. All right. People get often distracted. So let's say, okay, you have your goal. Your goal is, I need to focus on my eating to lose 20 pounds, whatever it may be, right? And then you see someone or hear somebody talking about, I just did, I don't even know what I think. I just started doing yoga, and I'm getting into headstands, right? I want to do headstands too now. Can we do that? So now you start deviating from your goal because you're getting distracted by other things. The next thing is focusing on outcome versus process-based goals. Now, we just witnessed an amazing comeback by the Chicago Bears this past weekend. They scored 25 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Green Bay Packers. And how do you think they did that? You think the coach was like, all right, guys, let's go win. Yeah, go throw the ball run it, tackle, that's it. Right? It's probably not. They probably have, right, we're going to run this specific place. We need to make sure you're covering this guy. You got to make sure you're staying in your position and you're looking out for these moves and all these strategies that the other team is doing, blah, 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 right? So they're focusing on the process. And then the win just happens because of achieving the process. And it's the same thing with planning, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. Yeah, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Oh, yeah, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. But that's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on, all right, I gotta make sure my breakfast is good. I gotta make sure my breakfast is good. All right, I got my breakfast good. Is my lunch good now? All right, I got my lunch and my breakfast good. All right, what can I do to make my dinner good? And then after that, all right, how am I getting all my steps? Can I do it in the morning? Can I do it in the evening? When can I get them in? Right? So focusing on the process instead of the outcome. And then the outcome will come when you're completing the process. And of course, you have to plan for obstacles and hurdles, all right? What am I gonna do if my kid misses the bus? I gotta drive them to school. All right, now I gotta plan. I was supposed to work out at that time. Now I gotta work out some other time. And then but now you have a plan B. You already thought ahead. All right, if this happens, I'm gonna do this, right? If work goes long, what am I gonna do instead? All right, I guess I'm gonna have to wake up early, get my workout early, because I don't know how long this meeting is going to go. All right, so really planning, looking ahead. You know the hurdles that you're going to face. You've lived your life for decades. No one knows it better than you. And stick with one goal for at least 6 months. Like give it a chance, not just, they say a habit, it takes like 30 days or something like that for a habit to be built. It actually takes a lot more than that. So take some time to really develop into that goal. Does that make sense for any of those? Any questions? Like you want to solidify a solid plan, make it as specific as possible. All right, something that helps in making a really good plan is the Eisenhower matrix. So the x-axis is urgent, not urgent. Y-axis is important, not important. So this is usually used for business, but you can use it for your planning as well. All right, so if something is urgent and important, you do it now, right? So if I'm thinking of my fat loss, it's the meal. Do I have my groceries? Damn, I don't have my groceries. I got to go shopping. I got to figure this out. I got to get my groceries. Then if something's important, like you have to do it, you're going to cook, but you already have some food at home, maybe you schedule, all right, I'm going to cook this other day at this other time. Something's not important, but it's urgent. I don't have my groceries, but it's urgent. But I kind of need some groceries, but you can't really do it because there's something else that's more important at the moment, like family or business. Then maybe you get someone else to buy you groceries, right? There's like a lot of apps for that. Or you have someone that cooks you meals. Like you can use one of these if you can afford it. You can use these pre-made meals or like little pre-packaged groceries that you can use to cook your own meals. And obviously, if it's not important, not urgent, you just don't do it. You don't waste your energy or time on it. All right, so this is a good way to start to think about, all right, what can I do with all these obstacles and how to overcome them? All right, so we're thinking about motivation. What's something really motivating you guys have experienced or seen that like really motivates you? Anybody?
Results.
Results motivated, yeah. Yes, results are good. So motivation is like this fire that's supposed to be burning inside you that helps you get things done, right? You're like, yes, this thing is fueling me. I can keep going. I can do it all. I can do this anytime I want. Yeah. The thing is, motivation dissipates. All right, motivation can die off. Like I get really motivated when I watch a Rocky movie and the training montage. It's like bam, bam. It's like running up the mountain. Like, oh man, I want to go work out. And then the next time, I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep in. Right? So motivation can die off pretty quickly. What doesn't die off is discipline. So You want to use that motivation when you have it to develop the discipline, to develop the habits, and use the thing between your ears to choose the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, right? You want the gratification now, the instant gratification, or the delayed gratification. And we always have that option, but what are we really picking? Now, if some of you have come to my presentations before, you may have seen this, so try not to give it away too quickly if you remember this. We have two cars, right? They're both white. They're both Volkswagen. Now, aside of the license plates and this the sunscreen, well, what do you guys notice are differences between the two cars? Okay, one's older, one's young, one's newer. What else? Clean. Okay, clean.
One appears wider than the other.
Tires, headlights, good. Antenna, yeah. What happened to antennas? Good. All right. So we got side view mirrors. Look, this is different, right? This is smooth. That right there, the intake parts. Yeah. Right. What else? Yes, you will find yourself on one side or the other. All right. So what else? What about the engine? You guys think the engine is the same? Yeah, but that's the stuff we don't see, right? So, yeah. So I'm pretty sure this one goes a lot faster too, right? A little more powerful. That brakes are probably really much better on the one on the left. So these are things we don't see, and then what people keep focusing is, all right, let's focus on the stuff we see, right? I want to look leaner. I don't want to, I want to look slimmer. I want to be stronger. I want to have more muscle, more tone. And then we keep focusing on these things that we can see, but not the things that we don't see, right? The thing in here. And that's what helps people be in that 9% of the ones that achieve the results. And you probably maybe have even met before people that have made drastic changes to their life and like, man, like what happened? Like how did they change? How to become so different? How they achieve all this stuff? Usually, the people that have these big changes and stick with them, they hit some type of low, right? Like some rock bottom type of thing. And that can depend on the person. I don't know what that defines, because some people can get really low and that change. Or they have what's called a come to Jesus moment, right? So they're like, man, I can't keep living like this. I got to change. It may be a blood report or whatever it may be. Now, you don't have to hit that rock bottom to make changes. There's another way they can go at it to figure out that intrinsic motivation. It's something that's going to fuel you from in here instead of rewards and things like you can earn like that are more extrinsic. And that's called the 5 whys. So you take your goal and you ask yourself at least 5 different times why you want that goal, to peel the onion to the base core of that goal. All right. So I'm going to take you through one of my goals that I told you. I told you I'm writing a book, right? So if you ask me, why are you writing this book? That's the first why. Like my goal is to write this book. The first why are you writing this book? Well, I'm really passionate about helping people, and I think I can help them a lot if they read this book in their training. Right? Okay, but why does that matter to you? Why does that matter to me? Why does it matter to helping people? Well, this is one of the things that I've been really good at. I can catch on real quick. I can break down really complex stuff about training and make it more digestible, make it a little bit simpler to utilize. Okay, but if you don't do this, what's going to change? Right? If you don't do that, what's going to be different, right? Tomorrow, just like that, the book is done. You have one life. On the other life, you never finish it. What's going to be different, right? If you don't achieve that goal. Well, I probably will feel like I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish in life. Why is it important for you to accomplish these things? Well, I want to leave some type of legacy. I don't just want to be just go through life and not be remembered. Next why. Why is it important for you to be remembered? Why is it important for you to leave a legacy? Well, because I just don't want to die and be a nobody. Right? So I went from my goal is to write a book to my goal is actually not wanting to die being a nobody and not being remembered. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? This is fictional, by the way. Well, we're going to go on a trip. I'm going to the beach. I want to look good in my swimsuit. Why does it matter if you look good in your swimsuit? Well, I just don't feel confident in how I look. I want to feel a little more confident, feel a little more sexy. Why does that even matter if you look good, if you look confident? Well, I just, things haven't been going that well, and I don't feel attractive to my spouse. Let's say that, right? Oh, well, how is that such a big deal? Well, maybe our relationship isn't going well. All right, we're losing some romantic interest now, and just things are just not going well. All right, why is that so important to you? Because that's the person I love. That's the person I want to be with for my whole life. Right, so you went from I'm going to lose 20 pounds for the beach to I want to make sure my relationship with the person I love is happy and successful. All right, so what is your why? This is something you want to really think about and break down as much as possible. Because your thoughts become your actions become your habits become who you are. All right, so it starts here. But I'm going to tell you about these 3 frogs. All right, so these 3 frogs are on a log in a pond. One of them decides to jump in. How many frogs are left on the log? 2. Well, you see, the frog just decided to jump. It doesn't mean he jumped. Right? So you can decide to do something, but ultimately your actions are what really matter. So maybe you got motivated from the speech right now, but what are you going to do tomorrow? Right? When you look in the mirror, who's the person you're looking at? Right? Because if you're looking at the person that's going to be eating dessert first, is going to be missing their workouts, is not going to prioritize sleep, is not going to prioritize nutrition, is not going to prioritize their workouts. Instead, they're going to prioritize social events and watching movies and getting on social media all the time. Those are 2 different people in the future. All right, so which person are you going to be looking at in the mirror? Are you going to be looking at the person that just decided, or are you going to look at the person that chose to actually act and actually did those actions because you found that interesting motivation that will take you to achieve your goals? Thank you very much, everybody, for coming in today.